Welcome back to Radio Entrepreneurs, the show that continuously streams stories of entrepreneurship, leadership, and how people are dealing with this economy. Every week, we like to check in with the fabulous Marc Z, president of Marc Z Legal Staffing, for our Marc Z moment to talk about employment issues, labor, organizational issues. Welcome back, Marc.
Jeff, great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Anytime.
Thank you.
Marc, what's on the agenda today?
Well, Jeff, what's on the agenda today is a subject that really came up probably like 5 times in the last week when I was talking to employers, and also when we were talking to some candidates in process in our business. And as you know, I always look at our business as sort of a lab for discussions on our show. One of the things that's concerning to employers are solid references of employees. Because as you know, hiring somebody is so expensive, and in a market as tight as we are, employers are trying to make the best possible decisions, and at the same time, they're having pressure to hire people as soon as possible. They've added another layer for the background check, but background checks really don't tell the full story. So what do, Jeff? We talk about references. But references are something that employers will only confirm dates of employment, will only confirm position and title, and potentially end date, and that's it. Those are the same employers that want references from the prospective employees. The reason being is they don't want to get sued, and they've been advised by their employment attorneys that you can only confirm dates of employment, position, because and maybe responsibilities because of that concern. So now you have to hire somebody, you need references, you ask for references, and you want references that will really tell the story, but obviously the candidate is going to provide references that they feel will put them in the best light. And what's funny is that employers have to look at it, instead of saying, okay, they're going to give the best references to put them in the best light, but it's what they're not saying. So we know if we get a reference from an employer, from maybe a supervisory coworker, that those references have to be stellar. If they're average references that are given by what the candidate says are their best references, then it's what they're not saying. And they're really giving you more of an accurate picture than you think they will. So really take the time to assess these references and ask the deeper questions, and maybe have a list that really probe, because you will find after talking to these references for just a few minutes into the conversation, they will give you the detail, and they will tell you more than you think you will be having in the beginning. The other thing is make sure you tell the candidates to call the references, to let them know you're calling, or your HR person is calling. Because what's happening a lot, and it's frustrating employers, and then it ultimately frustrates candidates, that has a domino effect, is they can't reach the people, because a lot of these references will think they're spam calls. Well, I don't recognize the number, and so they're not going to get back to the people.
Well, I know you're not saying this, Marc, and I'm worried, as a person who gives references and has called for references many times, people are always scared to say anything bad about anyone, that they just don't want to create any problems. So you're likely to get a good reference or not a good or no reference, so you're not necessarily getting accurate information. So I've always been a fan, especially with social marketing, of backdoor references. And that is, you look on Facebook and LinkedIn for people and you contact them for common people. Hopefully you can do that so that you can get some kind of confidential reference. But it's tough to get references nowadays.
So
too many people are scared.
Technically, my advice is you really shouldn't do that, because if you're considering a candidate, unless that candidate has given the authorization, you should not be talking to those references, because what happens is those people now know that person is looking for a job.
Oh, interesting.
So that's the thing. I mean, you can only call references that the person authorizes you to call. And
Interesting.
otherwise there is liability. So, our advice is just when you get the references from the candidate, really make sure they're a combination of supervisory references and or people that were in a position to supervise them, as well as maybe a good peer reference that worked alongside them, because peer references are usually a lot of times more hypercritical than employer references or supervisory references. And then really go deep. You'd be surprised what some of the references actually say if you ask the questions or don't say.
That's important. Ask the right questions. And I do like the expression hire slow, fire fast. So take your time hiring, make sure you really get to know the person, and the person really is the person you think you're getting.
Right.
I look forward to these Mark Z moments. You've given me some insights today. If somebody else needs the assistance of the fabulous Mark Z, how would they find you?
Well, first of all, flattery will get you everywhere, but just Google Marc Z, MARC, and the letter Z, or right on our Radio Entrepreneurs website, which is updated regularly, or go to marczlegal.com, marczlegal.com, or 617-338-1300.
That's great. Remind everybody, this is Radio Entrepreneurs. And if you ever miss a Mark Z moment, we have them all on our website. Plus, he'll be back next week on Radio Entrepreneurs.